The desert stretched out endless and merciless, a land where the wind carried secrets and justice was as rare as water. Miles of red earth and brittle sagebrush led to a crooked little town called Dry Creek. Its people were worn down by sun and fear, their eyes always darting toward the horizon, as if expecting riders who never brought good news. In that town, Sheriff Elias Kane walked with a limp and carried a reputation carved from years of chasing men who thought the law couldn't reach them. He wasn't young anymore, his hair touched with gray, but there was still fire in his eyes, the kind that only came from promises left unfulfilled. His promise was made 10 years ago, when his brother had been gunned down by a bandit named Silas McGraw. Elias had sworn he'd never rest until justice was done. That vow had hollowed him out, kept him awake at nights, and driven him to ride farther than any sane man would. But Silas McGraw had always slipped through, like smoke between fingers. Folks said Silas was untouchable, guarded by men loyal to his coin and his cruelty. But rumor spread that Silas had returned west, hiding in the mountains near Dry Creek. For Elias, that rumor was enough to mount his horse again. The town whispered about his hunt. Some pitied him, others admired his stubbornness. But one person saw the cost clearer than most, Clara Hart, the widow who ran the livery. She had lost her husband to Silas years ago, the same bloody night Elias lost his brother. Clara's sorrow had hardened into quiet strength, and though she rarely spoke of it, her hatred burned steady. She saw the way Elias prepared his rifle, the way he checked his revolver's chamber each morning. She knew he was planning to ride into hell, and she also knew he wouldn't return the same man, if he returned at all. The trail began with dust. Elias rode north with nothing but the sound of his horse's hooves and the memory of his brother's voice. He followed tracks left by scouts, broken branches that spoke of men traveling heavy. Every sign whispered of Silas's camp, but the land wasn't empty. Wolves prowled at night, and worse than wolves were the men paid to make sure no lawman ever reached Silas alive. The first ambush came at the river crossing. 3 riders appeared from behind the rocks, rifles gleaming in the sun. Bullets tore the air, splinters flying from the bank. Elias dropped low, his revolver spitting fire. One outlaw fell into the water, another clutched his chest and screamed before silence took him. The last fled, but Elias's horse carried him hard, and a single shot to the spine ended the chase. Elias stood breathing heavy, the river carrying blood downstream, and he thought of how many more he would have to kill before Silas faced him. Each death weighed heavier than the last, but he didn't falter. Justice, he told himself, demanded sacrifice. 2 days deeper into the mountains, Elias found more signs: ash from a campfire, empty whiskey bottles, and boot prints circling. He wasn't alone. He tightened his belt and checked his rifle again. That night, the fire he built was small, hidden, but even in the darkness he felt eyes watching. He didn't sleep. At dawn, they came again. For this time, their faces young, desperate, hired guns with more greed than sense. They charged, but Elias was quicker. His rifle cracked twice, his revolver roared, and soon 3 lay dead in the dirt. The 4th fell to his knees, begging for mercy. Elias stood over him, finger tight on the trigger. "Where's Silas?" Elias growled. The man pointed toward the canyon, voice shaking. "He's holed up near Red Rock, with a dozen men." Elias tied the man and left him for the law. His own path pointed straight into the lion's den. Back in Dry Creek, Clara heard the news from travelers. She shut her livery early, saddled her own horse, and rode after him. Maybe it was madness, maybe it was duty, but she couldn't stand by while Elias faced death alone. Their grief was tied together, and if Silas was to fall, she wanted to see it with her own eyes. The canyon was a scar on the land, red stone cliffs rising high, shadows deep enough to hide an army. Elias scouted from the ridge, spotting campfires below. Silas's men laughed and drank, their voices echoing off stone. And at the center, larger than life, was Silas McGraw. He hadn't changed much, his beard thick, his smile cruel, the scar across his cheek a reminder of all the lives he'd cut short. Elias's heart thundered. Here was the devil he'd hunted half his life. He planned his move carefully, crawling over rocks until he was close enough. His rifle rested steady, aimed at Silas's chest. One shot, and the promise would be fulfilled. But as his finger tightened, Clara's whisper cut the silence. "Don't," she said, crouched beside him. "Not like this. He has to face you. He has to know it's you." Elias's jaw clenched. She was right. Silas deserved more than a bullet in the dark. He deserved to see the face of the man bringing him down. That night they struck. Elias and Clara crept down, their movements silent as the dead. But the camp was full of sharp ears, and soon the alarm rang out. Gunfire shattered the stillness, echoing through the canyon. Outlaws scrambled, shooting blind into the dark, but Elias's rifle answered, each shot a death sentence. Clara reloaded for him, her hand steady, her eyes burning with the same fire. Bodies dropped. The air stank of gunpowder. Then, through the chaos, Silas roared and charged forward. His revolver flashed, his laughter booming. "Well, well, Cain," Silas bellowed. "Thought you'd never find me." Elias stepped from cover, his limp slowing him, but his spirit unbroken. "I've been looking for you 10 years, McGraw. Tonight it ends." They faced each other in the firelight, two men bound by blood and vengeance. The world seemed to fall silent, the canyon holding its breath. Silas fired first, his bullet grazing Elias's shoulder. Elias staggered but held his ground. He fired back, hitting Silas in the leg, dropping him to one knee. Silas roared and rose again, firing wildly, but Clara shouted, distracting him long enough for Elias to steady his aim. The final shot struck true. Silas fell, the earth trembling as if it had been waiting for this moment. His eyes widened in disbelief, then dimmed, leaving nothing but silence. Elias stood over the body, chest heaving. 10 years of pursuit ended in a single heartbeat. The fire inside him dimmed, leaving exhaustion. Clara touched his arm gently. "It's done," she whispered. He nodded, though his eyes looked lost. For so long, justice had been his only purpose. Now, with Silas gone, all that remained was the empty land and the weight of survival. Together, Elias and Clara rowed back toward Dry Creek. The dawn painted the horizon gold, a new day breaking over the desert. The hunt was over, but their lives, scarred, changed, still stretched ahead. For the first time, Elias wondered if there was room for something more than vengeance. Maybe, just maybe, justice was not just in killing, but in finding a reason to keep living. And as the town's church bell rang in the distance, Elias Cain realized his hunt was not truly for Silas McGraw. It had always been for peace, for redemption, for the quiet justice that comes when two broken souls refuse to let the darkness win.